on this computer. So everyone, welcome to our CCNP ENCORE class for fall 2023. Appreciate everyone being here, and I really appreciate it because we've got just about the entire class here. Let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, we got the whole class here, which is amazing. So thank you very much for everyone being here. We're going to have a good time, but we are going to have a lot of work to do. This is not an easy course by any stretch of the imagination. It is a I'll be straight up. This is the hardest single certification test I've ever taken in my life. And I have passed the CCIE written exam. This is, in fact, the written exam for the CCIE. So when you look at the book, it says CCIE and CCNP study guide, because this is the required exam to go take your hands-on CCIE for routing and switching. My name is Kelly Caudill. I am the lead instructor at Stanley Community College's Instructor Training Center. I'm also the lead contact at our Cisco Academy Support Center. I have been at Stanley for 27 and roughly half years now, and every bit of that has been part of the Cisco Academy. So I've been involved with the Academy for a very, very long time. I teach everything from CCNA, CCNP. I've taught it all. I've taught everything basically that's in the Academy. The only thing I can't teach, the only thing I'm not accredited to teach in the Academy is DevNet. I have not passed that certification exam. And I'm not a very good programmer, so that's probably one of my downfalls if I do have one there. You will notice, if you've been around the Academy program for a very long time, when we get going in this class, you're going to actually notice a lot of this material used to be in CCNA, but they moved it up to CCNP, and if it was a lot of material a half-inch deep, it wouldn't be that bad of an exam, but it's a lot of material about 2 inches deep. But I'll warn you about some things as we go through here. The book itself looks like it's this big 1,000-page book, but you don't have to know everything in that book to pass the exam. That's the other problem I had, is I tried my best to learn everything in that book, but not everything in that book was covered. And we'll go over the syllabus here in just a minute. I'll talk about the book. You don't have to actually buy a physical book for this class. It's actually provided through our O'Reilly online, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. The number one thing today that I needed you to do is I needed you to get into canvas.stanley.edu and do the first assignment. Many of you have already done that. If not, as soon as you can, and like I said, John, I know you got added today, and anyone who was added late may not have their Canvas login yet, but as soon as you can, please log into canvas.stanley.edu, go to our ENCORE class here, and you will see an introductory assignment. So right here, introductory assignment first, and just ask you to introduce yourself like you did here, but in a written format. So I see I've got 2 more to grade, so 2 more of you've done it, so thank you for that. Once you do that, then you will be able to, and really you can do it anyway, but then you can use your seat token to actually enroll into the NetAcad class. Now, if you were an existing student at Stanley Community College, I'll probably just put you into the class already. So Clayton, you're probably already in the class on netacad.com, because I think I added you. In fact, if you don't have a seat token listed for your name under these seat tokens here, it means I went ahead and enrolled you in the class.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So if, however, you need to use the seat token, I did give you directions on how to use it. But basically what you do is you go in and you go to the login screen and you go redeem seat token. And then you tell it, I have a current networking account, because most of you do. Put in the name and then put in your seat token. And this will enroll you in the class.
I did that, Kelly, but I did not get the option to submit.
Well, that's because you didn't have a seat token.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't give you a seat token, so there's no way for you to be able to do it. So I've already enrolled some of you. In fact, as we go in here, I'll show you who's already enrolled in the class. This will show you who's in NetAcad. Denise, John, Edmund, Chanura, Brian, Donald, Crystal, Gina, Clayton, and Nancy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody's in. So it looks like everybody has either redeemed their seat token or is already in the class. Okay. So all of you are in the course on NetAcad. Now, one thing I want to tell you, this course is going to be a little different than your CCNA courses. Here's why. You should notice in this course right here, when I launch it, there's no content. There's no reading materials in here. You'll notice there are chapter quizzes, there are practice quizzes, and there are exams, but there's no reading material in here. The curriculum is not inside netacad.com. And for that reason, our primary course is going to be inside of Canvas. Unlike other courses where most of our work was done in netacad.com, we're going to do our work in Canvas. You're going to upload your assignments in Canvas. So anytime you complete a lab, you're going to upload it in Canvas, not in netacad. And I'm going to tell you why I do that, quite honestly. It is so much easier to grade things in Canvas than it is in the system on netacad.com. And so since there's nothing over there except for the exams, I'm going to do it here on this particular system to make it easier on me. Okay. Now, I do want to show you there's a couple different places for the syllabus in here. We use Simple Syllabus now. If you are familiar with Simple Syllabus, it is a platform that lets you put your syllabus in basically a campus-wide repository. And so I want to go over the syllabus for this class for everyone. This is CCNP ENCORE for fall 2023. My name is Kelly Caudle, as I mentioned. We are pretty much, we meet, this is going to be a virtual class. If this is a good time for everybody, and it looks like everybody's here, this can be our class meeting time from 4 to 5 every Wednesday. If this is not a good time and folks need to change it, we want to move it, we can move it. But I like to find a spot that works for most people in the class. And it seems like this is not too bad of a place to put it because most people could come. If this is a good time, just send me a quick email or drop in chat and say, yes, this is good. We like it. Please continue with this time. I will send out another link, another meeting link for every one of our class meetings. It'll be the same one and it'll be the same time. So if this time's going to work, everybody just drop in chat and say, yes, this will work. This class is online. It's virtual. The book that you can get is a new book called the CCNP CCIE Enterprise Core EN 350 401 Official Cert Guide, 2nd edition. Now, here's the beauty. You don't have to buy this book, folks. I want to show you something. I've got a video in the class, but I want to show you. I'll walk through it, but I'm going to show you also. We have a special thing at Stanley Community College. And there's a video in class to show you exactly how to do this. But you go to Stanley, you go to Student Resources, you go to Library, you click on A to Z Database List, and then you click on O for O'Reilly. Okay. Now, if any of you have heard of Safari Books, I used to pay $50 a month to have access to this for myself personally. Our school went and bought a site license so that every student in our AMET and in our technology programs can get access to this. If I click right here, it's going to say, select your institution. We are not listed in here. We're too small to be listed inside of all of these universities. So you just click institution not listed and you put in your academic email, which for all of you would be your login for Stanley Community College, which should be your username at scc.stanley.edu. Click Let's Go. And then you will be inside now of O'Reilly. And in here, you should see, okay, different playlists. So you can actually click under your profile and look at playlists. You also can go down and look at, or you can just do a search. But I have a playlist for CCNP ENCORE. All right. And it looks like it is supposed to be, should be a public, actually it should be a playlist only for Stanley Community College. I don't know why it keeps making itself private. But now there is a CCNP ENCORE playlist. And actually my other one is, for whatever reason, they keep going private. All right. But inside of here, you will see the new book is in here, the 2nd edition book. There's a complete video course. There's an exam cram book. There's a portable command book, and there's even a 31 days before your enterprise core exam. Now, these books here and the video course are all for the 1st edition exam. But folks, the difference in the exam is so small that those materials are still valid. But if you click right here, here's the entire book for the class. So you can read this on your own time, whenever you want to. You do not have to go and buy the book. Now, if you want a physical copy, feel free to go buy it. But here's the thing, this book's not even going to be released till October. It's already in here, but it is not going to be released till October. So you've got the ability to read it before it comes out. And I mean, you'll see some of these is looking at the first couple chapters are collision domains, spanning tree, MST, which is multiple spanning tree, VLANs, either channels. All of this is available. So you've got the book for free. You do not spend any money on it. Inside of our class, okay, go to home, you will see that there is a video on how to access that, okay? So there's actually a video. You can open it up and you can watch the video and it will show you how to access O'Reilly. Okay, so you can access it right here, accessing the O'Reilly database. It's a video that shows you how to do it. I don't need to actually hide. Okay, now I did put the syllabus in a Word document format up here, but we also do have it again in simple syllabus down here. So we're going to use this one because it shows all the college policies. That's the one I'm supposed to be using too. So as far as materials are concerned, you don't have to purchase anything for this particular class. Okay, you do need high-speed internet. Everybody knows that. These contact hours are not correct, folks. This is actually an 80-hour course. It is not a 40-hour course. It's an 80-hour. I'm getting this fixed. For some reason, these course descriptions are pulling the wrong hours out of our system at Stanley. We will be using our NetLab system to do labs. And this is very, very important right here. This may be different than anything you've done before. For this course, in order to pass it, you need to complete all the chapter exams. So inside of netacad.com, there are chapter exams here, 1 through 5, 6 through 7, 8 through 10. You are required to complete every single one of those. You are required to complete 25 chapter labs on netlabs.stanley.edu of your choice. There's about 37 actual labs in the class. Now, I strongly suggest you do every single one of them. But if you complete at least 25 of them, I will graduate you and give you credit for the class if you do the other items listed here. The other item is the final exam. You got to score 75 or higher on the final exam, which is inside of NetAcad. And you must finish the skills exam lab final on netlabs.stanley.edu. So you will notice that these requirements may be a little different than you've seen in other instructor training classes. This is what I use for all of my instructor training classes. Are there questions? Any questions? Okay. I always joke about this, but don't cheat or you'll go to hell. Okay. That's academic integrity. I'm being a little bit facetious, but don't cheat. Do your own work. You're instructors. I don't worry about you cheating and not doing your own work, but just realize that.
Hey, Kelly, I have a question.
Shoot, Brian.
Hey, so I noticed that things were due each week. Do we have to stay within that schedule? So let's say for some odd reason on Sunday this week, I want to kick out, 5 or 6 labs. Can I do them in advance or do I have to wait for each week?
Excellent question. 2 things about that. Number 1, yes, you can definitely do it ahead of time. No problem whatsoever. Number 2, the dates are not there to be punishing for you. Okay. You also notice that when you look at the dates things are due, I got a couple weeks toward the end that say catch up on labs, catch up on labs. I know you are all busy. You're all working. You're all teaching. You all have a family. Things happen. Those dates are there because if you're like me and you have no dates, you won't get anything done. All right. They are there as a suggestion. If you want to complete things early, go for it. If you miss the due dates, that's fine. However, this regular attendance policy is very important, and that is this. If you don't do any work at all for 2 weeks, I'm required to actually look and see. If you don't do any work at all, nothing, don't attend the class meeting. By the way, attending class meetings is work. I consider that regular attendance. That's part of class. But if you do nothing, you're not in class, you're not doing any work. After 2 weeks, I'm supposed to drop you from the class. Now, I am pretty lenient on that, but let's just try our best not to get in that situation. The other thing, this class has so much material in it that I don't want you getting behind too much, because it will be hard for you to catch up. The other thing is, these meetings, these synchronous meetings, while not being required, if you can't make a synchronous meeting, that's fine. You are required to watch the recordings. That is a requirement. It is not optional. So if you don't make a class meeting, you need to watch that class meeting, because this is the primary way that I get information out to the class other than emails. Does that make sense? The other item that is very important is that introductory assignment that is in the class here. If you don't get that done, then I will drop you, and I must drop you, because that is a state requirement. If you do not get that introductory assignment completed, I will hound you mercifully, because if we don't get that done, we don't get FTE for you, and we get an audit exception. So just be aware of that. Late work, again, I don't take off from missed due dates. They're not there to punish you. They're there to give you a guideline. I do try to respond, within 24 hours during the week. I think you find out if you email me, I typically do respond with 24 hours during the week, unless something drastic is happening, and 48 hours on the weekend. And even that is a bit long for me, even on weekends. So just be aware. Grading, this is just a pass-fail course, folks. You either complete it or you don't. So it's not, you don't have to worry about A, B, C, D, F. Doesn't matter. It is pass-fail, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So you get a P or a U, or an S or a U. All of this is just other statements that we have as part of our class. Now, one thing you will notice, you do see all the due dates here. You will notice nothing is due for 2 weeks, and that is to get us all up and going, get us settled in, get us comfortable with the NetLab system. For those of you who are already have taken classes with us, you're familiar with NetLabs, you can start rolling and get going and take off. I do want to show you something that's very neat, and that is I actually have placed in here for you already CCNP ENCORE NetLabs docs.zip. So I took all of the content from the content tabs, so all the PDFs from the content tabs, and I converted them into NetLabs, into Word documents. So you can download those right there. I also went and every single lab that has an initial configuration in it. So if a lab says, please preload this on R1, preload this on R2, preload, all of those are in this right here. So if I download it, I can show you. Let me open it up for you. So for every single lab that you have to complete in this class, I have the pre-configs for them. So when you go into NetLabs, you can just make sure the devices are wiped, and then you can paste in, here's R1. So you don't have to waste your time sitting there typing in the pre-configs. Okay, so and that is for every single lab that's in the class that you have to complete. So I've got those completed, A1, D1, D2. So these, when you go to load D2, you'll just dump this in. You'll go into a config T, dump this in, and that will prepare D1 for the lab. Again, you'll notice that I have placed in here for you all of the NetLabs documents in a Word format. So when you go to do lab 112 and you need to fill in the information or fill in anything inside of it, and I ask you not to, I ask you to upload it. Oh, come on now, there you go. You will have the document in a Word document that you can fill in and then upload into the assignment. One thing that you need to be very careful with when you are doing these labs, unlike any other lab you've ever done, look at this. When you configure the IP address on the PC, you do not put it on the Ethernet interface. You put it on the VNet or vEthernet bridge interface. So when you put this IP address on this PC right here, and actually the IP addresses, you've got to put 10.2.50.50 and 2001 DB8 ACAD 1050::50. you must put it on the interface v Ethernet bridge. If you don't, it will not work. The lab will not work. It will not ping. But the good news about this lab is you'll notice down here, here are these starting configs. You don't have to type these in. I've got all of these for you. You can just copy and paste them in using the other document, the other item that I gave you. Does that make sense? Those two items are there for you. Use them. They will save you an immense amount of time. Okay, so your lab core docs and your device config files. All right. Other items here, folks, I want to talk about. First off, again, I will be turning on the chapter exams. I don't necessarily put in here, take the chapter exam. See, I don't really have in here do chapter exam for 1 through 5. When you complete all of the labs for 1 through 5 and you've done the reading for 1 through 5, you should go over and do the exam for 1 through 5. Complete the labs for 6 and 7, go do the exam. I don't have that listed in here, but that is part of your work. Everybody clear on that? Okay. Now, the final, so unlike other classes, again, it's going to be weird because you're going to be doing most of your work inside of canvas.stanley.edu, going only over to here to do 1 or 2 little things. I am going to have to add a quiz to this particular class. And what it says is that you are doing all the work that I mentioned earlier. And that is because when you go to ask for your credit for the class, for the CEs, they've been questioning me saying, well, all they're doing is the chapter exams. And then I have to show them all the work you've done in my NetLab system. Okay, which does take us to our final system here, which is our NetLab system. All of you, other than John and maybe one other, but I think everybody, all of you should be in a class now on NetLabs called KFC CCNP ENCORE FA 23. KFC is my initials, by the way. And so I put all my classes starting with KFC so they all appear together in the listing. So here's our roster. You will notice if you had an existing account earlier, I left your name as your existing instructor account. Okay. If not, you should be using your full Stanley email address and username as your login. Okay. If you've never been in NetLabs before, it's netlabs.stanley.edu. That is the URL. Your username is your full Stanley login, and the default password is Cisco123. Let me go over here and look at. Yes, Crystal, to access the book, you watch this video right here. Okay. You just go you go into canvas.stanley.edu and you watch this video, Accessing the O'Reilly Database. That will show you exactly how to do it. Yeah, no, Wendell didn't write it. Okay. Yeah, do you need me to go over it again, even though the video's there? Okay. Okay. Yeah, watch that video and it will show you exactly how to do it, how to get to it. And folks, something else I want you to realize. This is not just Cisco stuff. If you want to learn anything else, let's say you want to learn Python, you want to learn, I mean, look at all these different things on Python. All this, okay, Python fundamentals. You want to learn, I don't know, let's learn about artificial intelligence. Okay. Here's all resources on artificial intelligence. You know, it's amazing what's in here. Here's something even cooler. You get access to this. Your Stanley email stays active for at least 2 semesters past the end of your last class. So you will have access to O'Reilly even after this class ends in December for all of the spring semester, and you should have access through the summer semester next year, even if you don't take another class with us, because your Stanley email is active. So you can go and literally, you can learn anything. AWS, there's a ton of AWS resources in here. So if you want to learn how to do any of the different cloud practitioner, cloud fundamentals, here's an ultimate AWS playlist where somebody's made a playlist to get you complete video courses. So this is a pretty amazing resource. So NetLabs, all of you have the content here, which is our Encore. Now, folks, when we go in here to do a lab reservation, so I'm going to pick my Encore class here. You'll notice that you got PMAP or the skills assessment. You won't do the skills assessment till the end. When you click on PMAP, you'll see all the different labs that are available. How many labs do you have to complete minimum to pass the class?
27.
25.
Okay.
25. If you
Let
do
me go with
26, you did
27.
one extra.
Okay.
There's always an overachiever everywhere you go. Yeah. So 25 is the minimum. But now, folks, when you go to implement it, you'll see we have 3 CCNP pods. That is all we do have at the moment. We don't have 20 of them like we do in CCNA because these pods require 6 pieces of equipment and they're much more expensive to roll out. I would say that typically on these, give yourself at least 2 hours to do a lab because these labs tend to be a slight bit longer. I would also, as soon as you go into the lab, I would go ahead and still erase the switches and the routers and reboot them just to make absolutely sure they're clear. They're supposed to be clear, but let's not take any chances. So if you go in here, the red line, by the way, if you've never used NetLabs, by the way, quick show of hands or in chat, who has not used NetLabs before? Has anyone not used it at all? Has anybody not used NetLabs at all? Okay, good. Well, looks like everybody's used it at least once. Okay, well, good. That makes life a little bit easier for us. But what you're going to do is when you do your reservations, you'll make a reservation. You'll pick your lab. Let's say we're going to do the first one. We can do right now. Now I'll give myself a couple of hours, click submit. And now at this time, all that equipment is booting up inside of our NetLabs environment at Stanley Community College. These devices boot up, and they do take a little while to boot up because they are slow. They're 4000 series routers. They're 3650s switches and 2960 switches. Okay, so we've got all of these here. You'll notice you've got 4 devices and 4 PCs. Do not forget that when you go to put the IP address on the PC, you put it on the V-Bridge Ethernet, not on the Ethernet itself. I'll show you that in just a second. But you see all these devices are booting, so they're just like before. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes to everything to boot up, and then if you do a 2 hour and 7 minute reservation, you're not going to get 2 hours and 7 minutes. You're going to get 1 hour and roughly 57 minutes because the last 10 minutes are used to clean the system and to reset everything. Having said that, if no one has a reservation after you, always remember you can go here and you can request more time if there's not someone with a reservation directly after you. So don't rely on that. Just realize it is possible that you could do it if no one has a reservation directly after you. Okay, so here's the PC one. So it's up and running. Again, typically I would tell you to use the content from the content tab, but I've already given you those documents in a Word format right here. So you don't have to do that. You can just download the Word docs and use those. All right. The PCs, I'm gonna go in here and show you. Go actual size. Okay. Go in here and show you this. I can get my. Remember, when you go to put an IP address on this, oops, you need to go to change adapter options. And you need to put the IP address on the V-Ethernet bridge, not on the Ethernet. Don't put it here, put it on this, okay? Because the way the labs have been created, they're using this interface. They're not using the Ethernet interface, okay? Don't forget that. If you do not do that, you can't ping and everything, nothing will work. Okay. So make sure you're using that V Ethernet bridge network. Okay. Clear on that? So let's go back and review. Number one, canvas.stanley.edu is your main site. It's where I'm going to be putting most of your stuff. It's where you're going to be uploading your assignments when you get done with your labs. Complete a lab, you'll upload them. You also notice I've said nothing about packet tracers because there are no packet tracers. There are packet tracers available, but we don't do them. We do real labs in this class. This is a advanced class. We're going to be using real gear. Netacad.com, this is your site to do your written exams and your final written exam. Okay. You should see it under your I'm Learning section on Netacad. Last but not least, NetLab Plus is where you're going to do your hands-on labs. And remember, passwords are not synced with Stanley's network. So your password on netlabs.stanley.edu, if you change your password on stanley.edu, it will not be synced. They're different databases. Netlabs.stanley.edu is where we are going to have you do all your hands-on labs. So what do I recommend before next week's class? I recommend everybody get into O'Reilly, find our book, and start reading the first 3 chapters in the book. Okay. So start reading the first 3 chapters of the second edition guide, which would be packet forwarding, spanning tree, and advanced spanning tree tuning, or STP pruning. Tuning, not pruning, tuning. Although you will be pruning, but tuning is what it is. The video course matches up with the book pretty well, John. So yes, it does. You can watch that too. And especially, I have had a hard time finding a big difference between version 1 of the book and version 2 of the book. I will put into the course very soon the new rubric. This is the old document. This is the old blueprint for the exam. So this is the old blueprint, version 1. The new blueprint is coming out, and as soon as it is officially out, which should be, it's actually supposed to be out. It may be out now. It's supposed to be out. Brian, typically an hour. Our typical time for class will be about an hour. I do know that the CCNP actually goes live in the next day or so. It's actually September. I don't think it's 12th. Yep, September 20th. There it is. September 20th is when the new one. So the new exam goes active September 20th for CCNP. There's DevNet. So let's see, Enterprise. Here it is. CCNP Encore V11 goes active on the 20th. And here's the new topics. And again, I'll download these and stick them into our class. But there's very little difference between these two. In fact, the only thing I've noticed is it seems to be a little bit easier. Some of the things have been kind of reduced a little bit, which surprised me. Okay. Okay. So I'll put this in the class here in just a second. In fact, I'll remove this blueprint and load the new blueprint. I'll do that right now, in fact, so that we can have that blueprint. I do want to show you that blueprint while we're here, because let me copy it so I can put it into my drive. It's very important, and I'll go over this multiple times with you, but it's important that you look at this blueprint because it's easy to get bogged down in this class and feel like you'll never learn enough to pass it. But let's remove this. And then we'll add in a file. So I want to show you this blueprint. This is the new 1.1 blueprint that goes active September 20th. you will notice as we look at it that the architecture here explain the difference between 2, 3-tier fabric and cloud and high availability topics. So it's saying explain. It doesn't even say configure it. It just says explain that. Describe wireless network principles. Explain the working principles of SD-WAN solutions. Explain the principles of Cisco SD access, which we will get into later down in the class. Interpret wired and wireless QoS configurations. Describe CEF, CAM, TCAM, FIB, RIB, and adjacency. By the way, that's directly out of section 1 that we're going to be going over next week. Describe virtualization. Now, here's where we get into configure. So you need to make sure you know how to configure virtual routing and forwarding, GRE, and IPsec tunnels, because that's going to be on the exam, configuration. Troubleshooting static and dynamic trunking protocols. So you need to know how to do that. Configure and verify common spanning tree protocols, which is something we haven't done before in our version of CCNA. It used to be in the CCNA, but it's not there anymore. Compare EIGRP and OSPF. Configure simple OSPF environments, including multiple normal areas, summarization, and filtering. Now, look at this. Configure and verify eBGP between directly connected neighbors. All right. So external BGP between neighbors. And that's, folks, that's it. That's all that's on the entire exam about BGP. Look at this. Go to the book, and there's BGP and advanced BGP. I mean, everything you need to know about BGP, honestly, for the exam, is in about the first third of this chapter. And then there's an entire chapter on advanced BGP. So we need to make sure we're keeping an eye on these topics, these CCNP ENCORE topics and what's here, because what's in this and what's in this book is different. And it's aggravating, but it is just what we have to do. And it's one of the reasons why I studied for an entire year before I went and took this exam. I really do think I did over prepare because I was so worried about this 1,000-page book and thought I'd never get through it. But you don't have to get through that whole 1,000-page book. What you need to do is you need to know what's on these items right here. Pull that out of the book and go and pass the exam. Okay. Do the labs that are for those sections. And then if you want to do the other ones, those are fine because they will help you when you go to do CCNP ENARSI, which is our next class. But at the same time, you will you don't want to spend too much time because you can really bog yourself down. Okay. Now, folks, that was a lot of material. That was a lot of stuff I went through, a huge amount. I used to have a teacher that said a lot to what you put a house on, but it's a great amount of material to cover and to think about. What I need you to do, if you have not, is get this first introductory assignment done. And I want you to test your ability to get into NetLabs. Make sure that you know how to get into NetLabs and you can do a reservation. If you have any trouble with those items, let me know. Of course, you also need to make sure you can see the class inside of NetAcad, which you should be able to under your I'm Learning tab. All right. So get your introductory assignment done. Test your NetLab access. Make sure you're in the class on NetAcad. Then I would like for everybody to start reading chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the book online. You can't have a physical copy at this point. Although I could tell you honestly, you could take the old book and you could read chapters 1, 2, and 3, and they pretty much match exactly to what's in the new book right now. Okay. Any questions? That is correct, John. Yep, that is correct, John. The question by John was, what do we turn in for the labs? You turn in the Word documents, and if there's anything inside the Word document that has questions that need to be answered, like did it ping, what's the MAC address, those types of things, you need to fill those in. But no, we do not need you putting configs into the Word document because I can see those configs in NetLabs. I see every single command you've typed.
Do we drag the document to the upload file?
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Just drag it right to the upload and just upload it right there, and it'll tell you it complete the lab on NetLabs and upload the completed documents. So, yep, that's all you have to do. Do not forget that I've already converted all the documents to Word doc, or all the labs to Word documents for you, and I've got all your initial configs set up as text files. Don't retype all that stuff. Just copy and paste it. We're trying to learn concepts in here. We're not trying to teach you how to do basic config on routers and switches. We're trying to get deeper in depth on your CCNP skills. So we're trying to save time. Questions? Okay, let me stop my share. Any questions?
No, I have a question. I'd like to speak to you after class if it's possible.
Okay, that'd be fine. I'll stop recording here in a minute and we'll hold out. We'll wait a minute. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I will send the recording out here shortly. We'll just plan on Wednesdays at 4 then. It looks like that'll be a good time for everybody. So I will send the permanent link to the class, probably along with this particular recording, and I'll send it out as an automatic request through Zoom when I put it in Outlook. Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna stop my recording.